So I'm hoping in the next week to get this engine removed. Today I'm starting with removing just a bunch of stuff off of here, just so we can make sense of what goes where. I already removed the airbox, which is right here. It's this whole huge thing. I think part of this is obviously the LPG installation, so some of this stuff is gonna get scraped anyways, but I'm not sure what I need to keep, what I don't, so I'm keeping it all for now and we're gonna figure it out later. If you've been following the build, you know that I already bought another engine. The engine in the car is an M20B20 and the one I bought is also an M20B20, but the one I bought is newer. So this one uses J-electronic wiring, while the other one uses Motronic wiring. So the wiring harness is different, the ECU is different, and the ignition system is different. And the main thing that I wanted to do is figure out if I can use this wiring on the new engine with swapping the ignition and a few sensors over. Basically the whole electrical system of this car plus the intake, because this engine has more vacuum lines running to different parts of the engine while that one has less vacuum. And basically the newer version of the engine is just more ecological, which I don't really care about for an old car that I'm not gonna drive that much, and the country doesn't care about whether I have this engine or that engine, because by today's standards none of them are ecological, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, I just took off the ignition system to check the exact position of the system and the place where it mounts around cylinder 6, and the other engine has a predisposed hole here. So when they changed the engine style, they actually didn't do anything different with the block. They used the same block, just changed the electronics, which is great for me because it means that we can use this ignition system on the other engine. The only thing I might have to do is replace the oil pump, as from what I understand the ignition runs off of the oil pump. I still have to make sure it is the oil pump, but I'm hoping that it is. From what I found until now, it should be. So yeah, worst case we have to replace the oil pump. We'll have to also use basically anything that has to do with the electric system we'll have to put on the other engine. Basically anything that has to do with the wiring harness we'll have to swap over. It's another day and we're continuing with disassembling stuff around the engine. So today I want to take, I don't know, as much stuff as I can off and see where we get with it. Let's do it. Okay, everything is off and now it should just slide off, hopefully. Nice, finally. It's finally off. Now I can do the fuel rail and a bunch of other stuff, and then, I don't know, I'm just gonna wing it from here. Okay, it's been some time, I've done a bunch of stuff. The engine bay still looks like a big mess, but just with a bunch more space here. I've taken out the wiring harness, it's connected there, it's connected here, but it's out of the way enough, I think, to pull the engine. I just took off the alternator bolts, so the alternator should come out, I think. Yeah, I don't know, can't do this with one hand. Anyways, yeah, I'm taking basically whatever I can out. What's still keeping the engine connected is obviously the gearbox, power steering pump and the exhaust manifold. I'm gonna take off the alternator so we can get to the power steering pump, and basically I'm gonna stop here for today and continue probably tomorrow. Before going, I quickly took out the power steering and the alternator, so at least that's off. So all we have left is the engine mounts, the exhaust and the transmission. Basically that's it. So it's ready to get out. It's finally time to pull the engine out. I picked up this van to pick up the engine hoist to be able to take the engine out of the car. I'm gonna start with the exhaust, then move on to the transmission, and then we're gonna clear out the driveway and take the car out, because obviously this is too low for the hoist to pull this engine out, so we need to do it there. Okay, so I already got a bunch of bolts off. This is how I'm doing it. I have this big old extension, a 14 at the end, and I just fish it through wherever I can. Okay, got one bolt stuck, so I need to figure out how to access it, and then the exhaust is done. So the car is outside and basically everything has been disconnected except the shifter inside of the car. So I need to go underneath, disconnect the shifter, and then we can pull the engine out. We already have the hoist out, it's right here. Taking the car out was a mess, exactly the same as it was putting it in, but it's out now and it's gonna be out until the new engine goes in. So yeah, basically that's it. I'm going underneath now to figure out how to disconnect the shifter, and then we can just pull it out. I think I'm mostly ready now. I still want to drain the oil because I'm going to need to take the oil pan off to put it on the other engine, and yeah, I have no idea what else. Yeah, I need to take off the clutch slave cylinder, but I'm gonna take it off once the engine is tilted because I'm gonna have more access to it. So yeah, now I'm gonna drain the oil, take the engine mounts off, and basically pull the engine. Let's take 17-year-old oil. Got the engine hooked up and I'm gonna try to pull it now. I'm alone, which is definitely not ideal, but I don't know, I'm gonna start and probably have to wait for someone to come in and help me. Anyways, let's do it. It's nice and loose. All I have to do is disconnect the clutch slave and we're done. Got the slave cylinder out, this thing right here, and basically the transmission has been disconnected and is ready to go out. This needs to be changed, the wheel is falling apart, the engine mounts are chewing gum basically, and yeah, it's all a bit of a mess, but we're going through it. Anyways, let's pull it out. One thing that I'm worried about is that the car might be too high for the hoist to pick up the engine, but I'm gonna try, and if it's too high we're gonna drop the car and then it should come out easily. Anyways, let's go. This was stressful, but it's out. I managed to not damage anything, which is great. And yeah, I'm gonna just disconnect the transmission from the engine and leave it here for today. Hopefully I am not too sick tomorrow, maybe, I don't know, at the moment I'm feeling great, so hope it lasts until tomorrow. Let's disconnect the transmission, see how the clutch is. Okay, so this is all a mess. I've trashed the place with all the engines and everything, but we're moving along. I still haven't managed to take the transmission out of the engine. I've been hitting it for hours, but trying to use levers and anything, but it just doesn't want to get off. It is fairly off, but it doesn't budge, so I'm kind of pissed off. I took the oil pan off and the oil pickup, and now I brought the new engine inside and I'm going to get it up, take the old oil pan off, well, take this oil pan off, put the other one on. I'm trying to figure out how to take this cap off to see if I can run my ignition system through here. Hopefully it comes off. I'm not sure how it is on. It's just spinning around aimlessly. There's no clamp or anything holding it in, so I don't know, I'll figure it out. And then I'm gonna try and put the other ignition system inside and see what that does. Yeah, I'm so tired, so I have to do this while I still have the hoist, because I have to bring it back tonight, and I'm gonna do as much as I can while I have it. In order to allow myself to work on the engine after I remove the crane, I put it sideways just on a piece of wood. That way I can access the underside, because I can't really swap the oil pan until I have a new seal, which I'm gonna order tomorrow. Today is Sunday, so there's no way of getting one. But at least I want to take the oil pan off and see what I can see from underneath, see if the oil pickup from the other engine will fit, and just check stuff over and make sure everything will work. So I'm gonna take the oil pan off now and see what's going on. I got this cap off. This is what was covering the hole where the ignition goes, and it seems to be all exactly the same. So what they did is they just put in a mechanism inside of the hole that would usually be the ignition, and it just went into this thing with a bearing inside, and it would just spin for no reason. So that's how BMW deleted this type of ignition to go to the Motronic one, and now that makes it extremely easy for me to go back to the J-tronic ignition, which is just removing this pointless piece of metal inside, putting in my own ignition, and basically that's it. Then I can run, I'm sorry, the focus was off, the mechanical ignition off of my engine. I don't know why the camera is so foggy, but hopefully it's okay. Anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna pull this out completely, put the new, well, the correct oil pickup on the engine, connect the ignition, try to turn the engine, see if the ignition turns, and if it does, then we're golden, and the rest of it should be a piece of cake. See? Pointless. Is it the same? Yes, exactly the same as the ignition from my engine. So let's see if this fits. Okay, now I'm going to manually crank the engine, and as long as this part turns, we're good. So this is supposed to sit like this. Okay, let's see. Yeah, nice. This is perfect. I just managed to bust loose this bolt right here, so I can take this pulley off, because it's not the same as the one from the other engine. And how I did it was just a big ass pipe onto the actual wrench, and I blocked this side with 2 wheel bolts and just a long pipe again, and this basically did the trick. It was really tight, but came loose, so let's take it off. Nice. And another thing I didn't know, this thing is belt driven. I was sure it would be chain driven, but I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it. The belt seems decent, so I'm not gonna change it. It's easy enough to change it on the car, so that's not a big issue for me. So now I'm gonna put all the other pulleys back on and basically finish with the front. I still have to replace the water pump as well. So just took off the old water pump. Here's the new one. It's, well, obviously much nicer because it's new. And yeah, this one is ready to be thrown out. This one will be nice to mount on and just be sure that we have good water flow. I need to clean basically everything around the pump. I'm gonna do that probably tomorrow or the day after. I need to get some tools to make the cleaning process easier. Need to remove this and basically mount the front end from the other engine. But before I can do that, I need to clean all of this. Nice. Basically that's it. I think I did a lot of progress today. I'm really happy that I managed to figure out that this works, because this is gonna make everything else easier. The main thing I was worried about is making this thing work on the older J-Electronic, I'm not sure what it's called, I think it's J-Tronic engine management, because I don't have any of the Motronic stuff that this engine, the newer M20B20, actually runs off. So yeah, we're gonna be able to run everything off of the old one. Also, a good thing about the old wiring and everything is that the older engine actually makes more power, which it should be just a thing of the electronics and the fact that the old engine doesn't have a cat while the new engine does. So yeah, we're gonna be making like 5 horsepower more than the newer engine management engines, so that's nice. I don't know what else to do today. I kind of gave up on taking the transmission off of the old engine. I'm gonna just find a new transmission. Also, the flywheel here is all rotten, so might as well find a new flywheel and transmission. I have a new clutch and that should be fine. I don't think I have anything else to take off of this engine, so I should be okay. Also, it's starting to rain. I'm done for today. Just finished packing the hoist back into the van, and I'm just gonna clean, because this whole space is a big mess. So I'm gonna go through it, clean everything. I protected the old engine just so, I don't know, just because it's here, so someone doesn't steal it for scrap. I'm gonna get this all clean, so when we continue working it's nice, and basically that's it for the day. Not perfect, but much better than it was. And yeah, basically done for today. I'm gonna order all the parts tomorrow and then wait for them to come in. Hopefully their next day delivery, and we can continue working on this thing as soon as possible. Maybe I'll come in tomorrow to clean stuff up, but I'm not gonna film that because it won't be interesting. And yeah, so we'll pick up with the new parts.